Well, today is September 1st. I have to say it's going to be a good day for everyone. I'm going to be starting out with reviewing two Joshi promotions. The first one is going to be, of course, with Marvelous, that took place on the 23rd of August, which, of course, was not that far off. And, of course, the latest Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, Perfection, that took place on the 27th of August as well. And, of course, we have Pro Wrestling Eve with Thursday Night Riot, where it features Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling star Hikari Noah challenging Alex Windsor for the International Princess title. And of course, we cannot forget, this is the last time we'll ever review NXT UK. Is coming to an end. I'm gonna miss it, but damn it, I hate when that happens. Anyway, but we all know what took place. This was, of course, took place of the finals to become who will be the NXT UK champion. I can't wait to see that. And of course, we cannot forget Impact Wrestling. As you know, we're building up for the upcoming pay-per-view Bound for Glory. And of course, we cannot forget what has been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So we're going to share that on the news updates today. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with the recent Marvelous show that took place on the 23rd of August. We're not that far off from that. It opened up with a very interesting three-way match. We got Riko Kawahara versus Ibuka's Me versus Tomoko Watanabe. Now, to me, there was a bit of comedy in this particular match. The reason I say this is because it appears that Riko and Ibuka were trying to get the attention of Tomoko Watanabe for some odd reason. Basically, Ibuka tried to sing and dance, and then, of course, she got drop kicked by Riko. So they've been going back and forth. Now, some of you probably say, what does Tomoko do the entire time? Simple. Stand there and then kick ass. That's what she was doing. But however, it was Riko Kawahara who picked up the victory when she pinned Ibuka's Me. And of course, Tomoko actually, she sees her and the rest is history. Our next match we have is men's exhibition match. We got the resident member in Marvelous, Leo Aizaka, I think is his name, taking on Ricky Fuji. Now, if you guys don't know who Ricky Fuji is, he's legendary. You may have seen him in FMW. He was part of that documentary, Dark Side of the Ring, that talked about it. But man, I did not expect to see him there, but he was awesome. You probably say, okay, we got the old timer versus the new kid. Well, it's really interesting. But however, it was Ricky Fuji who picked up a very strong victory when he applied a very strong DDT, giving him the victory. Next match, we got Ai Ozan taking on Miyu Momono. I have to say it was a real interesting matchup because I have seen Ozan. She is very aggressive, but Miyu Momono, she seems more prominent. But I wasn't expecting a whole lot. But I did like how Momono actually kept her composure. But she was able to pick up a very interesting submission hold, the Boston Crab, onto Ozan, and of course she had no other choice but to tap out, so that gave her a very good victory. Now, our next match we have Izuki Aoki versus Rin Kodokura. Now, this was a very unusual match because, as you know, I've seen very interesting matchups every single time. Um, it was strong, very hard hitting. I was like, oh man, these girls are going all the way. I just didn't expect them to go. But here's the interesting is these two ladies, they are in fact the current tag champions. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be interesting. But I'm like, wow, they didn't even hold back. That's awesome. But unfortunately, it didn't go exactly like either way wanted. So it ended with a 5 minute, no, a 15-minute time limit draw, which of course nobody here in the States like that. But in Japan, they're used to it. That's how we all see it. But who am I to discuss? Now, our main event, we have Maria teaming up with Asuka, or as we know her as Veni, taking on Chikayo Nagashima, and of course, their ace of Marvelous, um, Takumi Iroha. I have to say it was a very interesting match because you guys know Takumi is the ace of Marvelous. You know, we've seen her many times. But Maria, over time, I have watched her, how aggressive she's been, unhappy. She's been with, she has teamed with Riko Kawahara. They're rivals, even though, but she had to team up with Asuka. But unfortunately, I have to say, I like how both Chikayo and Takumi actually work together very well. Even though Chikayo is a bit more of the veteran of the team, but Takumi, she can hold her own. But they won by double pin, and it gave, of course, Chikayo and Takumi the opportunity to win the match. However, they were reverse nominated by, of course, the current tag champions Aoki and Kadokura. I'm not sure what they said in Japanese, but I'm sure they gladly accepted. Now, I don't know if Takumi actually ever been tag champion, but we'll see what happens. And I'm kind of curious. Hopefully, Watch Pro Wrestling puts up the next event by them. So I think that's pretty much it right now with Marvelous. I believe it's time for Tokyo Pro Wrestling. Okay, we got Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling with Perfection that took place on the 27th. Now, what I didn't realize, this one took place before Go Girl 3. So, there it is. Now, anyway, it opened up with Pam Matajuku taking on the ace of Tokyo Yoshi Pro, Miyu Yamashita. Now, I don't know what Pam was thinking. She viciously went beeline right away to Yamashita, hoping it could soften her up, but you want to piss her off. But I was hoping that she would have gotten rid of her with one of her striking kicks, but Palm knows exactly what took place. But fortunately, it did not help because she actually ended up in a very tight submission that forced her to tap out. Palm, why you had to do that? But anyway, next up we got Free Wi-Fi Noah Kakuta and Hikari Noah taking on Aruna Neko and the White Dragon Rika Tatsumi. Now, as you know, Free Wi-Fi are one of the most impressive tag teams we have seen so far. Now, they yet to win tag team gold because we've been expecting that for quite some time. But it was Hikari Noah who picked up the victory on into Neko with a bridge type of pin that she normally does. And 1, 2, 3, it's over. Next up, we got a three-way. We have Yuki Inoue versus Hyper Misawa versus Mizuki. Now, I know that Hyper Misawa has issues toward Mizuki, but however, Mizuki, as you know, she's declared herself as the assassin, something I did not know. But she is good what she does, but she was able to pull up a roll-up onto Yuki Inoue, giving her the win. Next up, we got Raku taking on Yuka Sakazaki. Now, the one thing Yuka Sakazaki needs to be more careful is not to fall asleep by Ruka. And unfortunately, it failed. However, she was able to pick up a win by using a crucifix type maneuver to pick up the win. However, Ruka was determined to put her back to bed, and Yuka Sakazaki ran for the hills, realizing she does not want to go to bed. Yeah, you know what I mean by that. Anyway, our next match, we have Maki Ito teaming up with Moka Miyamoto to take on the challengers for the Princess Tag Team titles, Mahito Kiru and Yuki Kamifuku. Now, Kamifuku and Maki Ito are good friends. They're part of the Ito Respect Army, as you know. However, they know they need to put that to the side at the moment because this is an equal opportunity for Kamifuku and Kiru to um, advance and try to boost up more for their craft when they face the current tag team champions, Riwa Triple Double A Cannon, which is something they want. They're right now are the number one contenders for the tag titles. So I think it did play out pretty well. But however, uh, Moka Miyamoto suffered the fate under the famouser by Yuka Kamifuku, giving her the win. So basically, the challengers are won, but we'll see when that day comes when they get the challenge. Now, our main event, we have Daisy Monkey, Arisu Endo, and Zuzumi taking on Miyu Watanabe and, of course, our current Princess of Princess champion, Shoko Nakajima. Now, you can say this is a good match because, as you know, I've always talked about Daisy Monkey, how far they and how much they have grown over the last couple of months, and I think that's always been a good thing. So I felt like it's something we definitely could enjoy. But however, in the way it was Nakajima that picked up the win by applying her a bridge onto Arisu Endo, giving her the win. So basically, we know that Nakajima will be facing Yuka Sakazaki soon. But it was really good that she teamed up with Miyu Watanabe. I'm not sure if she would have wanted her to be the challenger for a title, but I'm sure many of us would have wanted to see that. But that's until some other time in the future. So I think that's pretty much it with Joshi Pro Wrestling. I believe it's time for Pro Wrestling Eve. Okay, Pro Wrestling Eve. Now it's been who knows how long I haven't seen a Pro Wrestling Eve event. Now this one was on YouTube completely. However, I was told that this particular event was supposed to have the match for the International Princess title, which is a title that is from Joshi Pro. As you remember, during the Summer Sin Princess, we saw Maki Ito lose the title to Alex Windsor. Um, that match did not happen. It did happen, but it was not put on YouTube for some odd reason. But however, I did get information exactly who won that match, but I feel like I'm not compelled to do that since I haven't seen it. But however, there were some matches we definitely could talk about. So let's just do that. That way it'll be a lot of fun. Our first match, we have a tag team match. We have Haley Hudson versus Raylene Leverkinson taking on the Uprising, Nightshade, and Rhea O'Reilly. Now, I have seen the Uprising before, but they are the most dominant faction right now in Pro Wrestling Eve. They were very impressive in this match because they shown why they're dominant. So the Uprising won the match, all thanks to O'Reilly. But of course, as you know, recently Pro Wrestling Eve does have a working relationship with Joshi Pro. The Uprising are demanding to have Joshi Pro bring in their very best. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Neil Bishiki-gun or possibly our current tag team champions or whoever. That's one of the things we can definitely see down the road. Our next match, we have Alexis Falcon taking on Kanji. I thought this match was great. Now, Falcon tried everything to take her down. Now, she was not compelled to fight Kanji from the very beginning, but Kanji was not going to turn away or be ignored. So she fought like hell until she finally gave her a somewhat of an elbow strike, put her down, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Now, our next match, which is our last one from watching this on YouTube, we have some returns in this particular match. We have Nina Samuels. If you guys seen her, she was on NXT UK, so now she's back. She teams up with Lizzie Evo, who we knew as Eliza Alexander of also NXT UK. They team up with Emerson Jane, and their opponents are none other than Millie McKenzie, who we knew as Amelia McKenzie, taking on Jita, who is the current champion, and Charlie Morgan. Now, I thought this match was pretty awesome because, seeing certain women who we seen on NXT UK was really awesome. Especially, I'm a fan of Millie McKenzie for two reasons. One, she was trained by Pete Dunne. Two, she was one of those women who spoke out against Travis Banks because of his, how do I say, what his actions, abusing his power as an instructor. And I feel like she did the right thing in doing that, you know. So, the match was great, but however, at some point in the match, Nina Samuels and of course Lizzie Evo somehow got into each other's face, and it caused, of course, for Amelia McKenzie to do a spear on Lizzie, giving her the win. Now, normally this event is run by women, but they have like some sort of male ring announcer or manager, or whoever he is, talk to Millie McKenzie. As you know, we all happy to see her back, especially the fan base in the UK are happy that she's back with Pro Wrestling Eve. However, they have something in store very special for her. It turns out for their upcoming big event that's taking place. Now, I originally was going to put this on the news updates, but however, because it was part of the show, I decided, you know what, I'll just say it anyway. As you know, I mentioned Pro Wrestling Eve has a working relationship with Joshi Pro, and it turns out that Millie McKenzie is going to have one of her biggest matches ever. It's going to take place on Wrestle Queensdom, and her opponent is none other than the ace of Joshi Pro Wrestling, the Pink Striker, Miyu Yamashita. And of course, the manager said, it's your choice. And her answer is yes. And I know everybody's going to see this match. I have to say, we're going to have a killer match. Now, I don't remember when that match is going to take place. Hold on, I think I wrote it down somewhere. Bear with me. Yes, it's going to take place on November 13th. I'm excited. Hopefully they put. Last time I saw a Queensdom show was on Fight TV. Hopefully, if it does, I will be purchasing, because I definitely got to see that. So I think that's pretty much it with Pro Wrestling Eve. I believe it's time for the last episode. And goodbye to NXT UK. Final episode of NXT UK. Now, we've been aware that the show has been done, but however, I feel we have to review it because what took place in the final time we get to see this show. So it opened up with an NXT UK women's four-way number one contendership elimination match. We have Blair Davenport versus the French Hope Amel versus Eliza Alexander versus Isla Dawn. Now, three of these women have already challenged for the NXT UK Women's Championship on twice for each. Now, the only X factor here is Eliza Alexander is the only one who hasn't been able to get an opportunity yet. So she feels that she earned that opportunity. However, because of what happened with Soraya Mako Satomura, apparently Seth Scala had no other choice but to make this match happen. So basically, the match was pretty good. However, the only person they cannot have around they're mostly worried about is Isla Dawn, who is a bit of a weirdo in her opinion. So she was the first one to be removed. She got dogpiled for all three competitors. And then, of course, they moved on. Now we went to three. So the next person that was eliminated out of this match was none other than French Hope. So basically, Hope has died right there. And then finally, we have Eliza Alexander versus Blair Davenport. Now, Davenport has always been pleading her case countless times. She felt that she should be at the top. She should have won that title the last time. However, Eliza Alexander put every ounce of it, but fortunately, It did not end well for her, so Blair Davenport became the #1 contender. Now, if you guys been following what's been going on in NXT, you saw the real reasons why she ended up in that three-way. She felt like she will not be denied one A or the other. So it happened. Now, some people say maybe Blair Davenport is the ultimate underdog in this story. So we'll see what happens when we get to Worlds Collide. Now, our next match, we have Saxon Huxley taking on the cockroach, Kenny Williams. Now, we all know Kenny, he is a very deceiving little prick. He likes to do things differently to ensure he wins. However, Saxon Huxley, as you know, he is a big brute who feels like he's a Neanderthal. But however, he gets the full support of none other than Chase U. Honor Chase was there, Bodie Haywood, and Thea Hill. So they showed the moral support for Saxon Huxley, and it turns out that he sent an application to enroll in Chase University. And because of that, it did give Saxon Huxley an opportunity to win his match and uh, wave the flag of Chase U. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him next week on NXT 2.0 after Worlds Collide. I would love to see that. Now, our main event is very appropriate in some ways. This is for the vacant NXT UK Championship. Now, the reason is appropriate. You're looking at two wrestlers who known each other from day one, who have been in NXT UK from day one. We're talking about Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. These guys were once best friends and now enemy. Now, Tyler Bate is determined to be a two-time NXT UK champion. Trent Seven was determined to become new champion and believe that he is the true savior of NXT UK. But he has to go through Tyler Bate. Now, this match was so brutal, so monumental because it shows who wants it more. But the obvious thing is, both competitors know each other's moves inside and out. So that is also next factor that played out in the match. But however, it was of course Tyler Bate who walked out with the Tyler Driver 98, giving him become a two-time NXT UK champion. Now keep in mind, now we're stepping into Worlds Collide, where he faces off against Braun Breaker to unify both titles, because now, as you know, NXT UK does not no longer exist. So I'm looking forward to what's going to take place at Worlds Collide and see what happens then. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on to our last review, Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling, as you know. Right now, as you know, we're building up for Bound for Glory, but first we'll be stepping into Victory Road, taking place on the 23rd of September. Now, it opened up with the Impact World Tag Team title match between Honor No More's Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Maria Kanellis, as you know, Mike lost the match against Carl Anderson, so that means she is banned from ringside. They take on the Good Brothers. Now, the match was pretty good. It showed how much Honor No More are determined to win these titles, to prove their point that changes has to change against the corruption of Impact Wrestling. But however, it did fall in the favor when Mike Bennett took out Doc Gallows out in the steel chair. Then he pulled Carl Anderson in between the legs of the corner top buckle, giving Mike Bennett the chance to win and become the new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. However, it appears those titles are now on the sight of one particular team that are determined to prove they are the best. To my surprise, they introduced them a little later of the Impact Wrestling. It's none other than Aussie Open. Aussie Open. That's right, guys. Aussie Open, the current New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team Champions, made their presence known in Impact Wrestling, and they have their sights set on these tag titles. However, if I was Honor No More, I wouldn't tangle with these guys or try to prove they're politically correct, because the one thing that United Empire is going to prove that they're nothing but a bunch of wankas. Trust me, that's what they would think of them. However, now our next match is for the X Division Championship. We have Kenny King, also a member of Honor More, taking on Mike Bailey. I thought this match was pretty amazing, but however, the first ref was taken out by accident. However, when the second ref shows up, things would have gone Mike Bailey's way, but Maria, once again, decided to interfere and to ensure the match. However, there was a mistake that was put. The first ref that was knocked out saw exactly what happened. He saw that Maria Kanellis got involved, helped out without the second ref knowledge, overturned the match and turned it into a restart. And however, um, Mike Bailey retained the title. Now, this will not sit well for Honor No More, and I'm sure they're going to call this another conspiracy once again. But however, that is not going to be a problem because apparently things have changed, and I'll explain that a little bit. Now, as you know, Brian Myers, as you know, the so-called professional wrestler, decides to go out and complain to D'Amore about Bhupinder Gurja taking his belt. So he's like, "Come on, I thought you were the professional wrestler." So he got into his head, but he got his lights knocked out by Bhupinder and gave him back the title. So he's trying to tell him he's not going to stop no matter what. So the obvious question does remain: is Brian Myers going to ignore this, or is he going to do something about it? I don't know. Now, as you know, recently Rosemary, Taya Valkyrie, and Jessica, there are a bit of celebration. As you know, Jessica won her first return match, but her first debut match. But I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be a very interesting development with all three of them involved. Now, I did mention the interview with Aussie Open. Apparently, Gia Miller overheard some commotion on the other side of the wall, where you see Macklin and Moose talking. Now, there's been a lot of talk about is Moose and Macklin are in cahoots with each other. This seems like it most likely did, because apparently what the idea is this. Macklin tries to reason with Moose, telling him about the barbed wire massacre, that this match is either going to go in two ways. One, they get to finish off Sammy, or is it going to be down to both he and Moose? That is something that Macklin knows. So obviously it looks more like they're in cahoots. Now, recently I did report it about Joe Doran. He's stepping away from Impact Wrestling due to some health issues. This was the moment they said it. So he walked out and said that he has to take care of his own path. However, Eric Young is going to step out his own path. But as for Diener, he has two choices: either go with him or walk his own path. So basically it's more like, okay, Violent by Design are going to go their separate ways for now to work on some other things. So that kind of fits into that storyline. Now, Mickie James, as you know, we haven't seen her since July due to the fact, since she had that really bad loss she had with Chelsea Green. So she came back, and she now is saying that this will be her last rodeo. She's going to work her way back up from the bottom to the top to get to have one last final run of the Knockouts Women's Championship. So that is something we know she could do. But to say this, if she doesn't win all the way through, she's done. So it's kind of like that. It's been going on. Now our next match, well, not our next, we have an interview conducted by Gia Miller. She talked to Josh Alexander. Obviously, she talked about Mickie James, what she thought. However, Josh Alexander, what we want to know, what is he thoughts about Eddie Edwards and Honor No More are trying to have him side to them. Now, keep in mind, Honor No More believes in Impact Wrestling. They're liars, they're deceivers. They will betray you the same way. So Eddie's like saying, come on, Josh, they betrayed me. Join me. I'm right. But Alexander, he's too thick-headed to go in that direction because he owed a lot to them. If it wasn't for them, he would not have been the Impact World Champion. But however, he decided to say that, there's a reason why they're corrupted. They're letting Heath do whatever he wants. And that's exactly what happened. But however, I don't know exactly how things are going to go well because, of course, D'Amore is enjoying Heath beating the crap out of attacking Honor No More one by one. But however, Josh Alexander understood his issues towards them. But however, he seems like he was trying to make peace with Edwards regardless. So we don't know how this is going to turn out until we get to Bound for Glory. Where am I? Oh, yeah. So our next match is a number one contendership for the X Division Championship. We have the Sauce Alex Zane taking on Mascara Dorada, who makes his official Impact Wrestling debut. Now, I thought this match was unbelievable. This is more of the cruiserweight, junior heavyweight, and of course, it's what the pinnacle, what it's all about for the X Division. Now, you can say that Alex Zane, he's a big dude. He knows exactly what he's doing all those flippy stuff. That's what makes him great. But however, it was the Dorada driver that sealed the deal for Mascarado to put away Alex Zane and get an opportunity. So he will be facing Mike Bailey for the X Division title. Now, as you know, Mickey James, it knows what she has to do. So Jordan Grace gave her some advice and words of encouragement, saying it's okay to feel this way. I understand you have to work. So hopefully, maybe one day, if I still have this, I'll challenge you. But right now, Jordan Grace has one thing she has to do, and of course, the number one contendership, who will be her opponent at Bound for Glory. Now, some interesting news coming from the New Japan dojo, mostly from the LA dojo. Yuya Uemura next week will be making his debut. I'm excited for that because I know everybody loves Yuya Uemura. We love seeing these young lions, how much they have changed since the course of time. You know, we see that with Shota Umino ever since he went to Rev Pro and all this and that. Now, our main event is the number one contendership for the Knockouts Women's Championship. We have Deonna Purrazzo along with Chelsea Green to take on Masha Slamovich. Now, you can say Masha had the better hand because she is crazy. Matthew Renwall was like worried, knowing that Masha Slamovich, she is someone you don't want to mess with. Now, when Deonna Purrazzo thought she had everything under control, it did not. But however, it was Slamovich that picked up the victory, took out Purrazzo once and for all. But, of course, the event doesn't end there. We see Jordan Grace giving her a warning sign and all this stuff. So we will see a very interesting matchup between those two. I think that will be in Bound for Glory, but we'll see what's going to take place since now. So I think we're done now with this review, so let's move on with news updates. Okay, our news updates for today. First time, we have stuff coming from GCW. Our first time, as you know, I mentioned about Fight Club that's going to be taking place in October 8th and October 9th, a 2-day event at the Showboat Room at Atlantic City. Now, it's been now revealed that current GCW Ultraviolent Champion Rina Yamashita will be returning back, and I believe she'll be putting her title on the line for this. Possibly that's what's going to take place. But some good news for all you Dragon Gate fans out there. Yamato will be making his debut on that very particular event, Fight Club. It's still unclear what his match is going to be, but I'm sure we all going to enjoy it. Now, related to GCW, they announced they'll be returning to Milwaukee on the 12th of November at the La Pica de Lounge. Kind of curious. It's still unclear what's the name of the event, but I'll stay on top of that. Now, for all you West Coast pro fans out there, as you know, we mentioned the upcoming event taking place on October 8th for Ride the Lightning, which is the name of the album by Metallica. We did know certain people will be making an appearance. We did talk about Marvelous' very own Miyu Momono, who will be appearing there. It's now been announced for her opponent taking place on this particular day. It's going to be none other than Debbie Malenko. I'm excited for this. This is going to be really good. As you guys know this or not, something I did not know, something I learn every day. She used to be part of the All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling promotion back in the day, and I think this is going to be great right here. Now, for all you Stardom fans out there, as you guys know, we do have a very interesting event taking place on September 11th during the 5-Star Grand Prix. A match has been added for that particular day. It's not involving the 5-star Grand Prix. As you know, we still continue on. We're going to have a tag match. God's Eye. We're going to have Tomoka Inaba making her debut as a member of God's Eye, teaming up with the leader Sudi to take on Cosmic Angels Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama. Now, I want to be fair with everybody. This is going to be a very interesting matchup to see what Tomoka Inaba can bring to the table, how she can make God's Eye better than they are now. As for we all expect Waka to pick up her first win, but we'll see how that goes too. Now, finally, if you guys saw what happened on AEW Dynamite, Ace Austin spilled the F-bomb on national television. Now, according to reports, he has been he had to pay a big internal fine for dropping the F-bomb on live television. This is something that Warner Brothers, I understand, has been trying to tell them we need to cut down on the cursing a lot. So it would make sense they would do that. Basically, Ace Steel really messed things up for himself. But it's still unclear how much he has to pay. I tried to look up any sources that say how much he had to pay, but looks like they're keeping that quiet. So I think that's pretty much it. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we're going to have a very interesting developments in pro wrestling. Most specifically, as you know, we have day one of the Burning Spirit of tour taking place by New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm excited for it. However, we do have AEW Rampage, the final Rampage, before we go to All Out. And then finally, we have, of course, who's going to level up on this episode of NXT Level Up. I'm looking forward to it. Now, if there's any other events that I'm willing to review, I'm planning to do maybe a separate, episode, because as you know, I watch all of the wrestling shows that I can see on watchprowrestling.org. They just just uploaded day 6. Day 6, 7, and 8, I believe, on the Pro Wrestling Noah N1 Victory. I'm kind of curious to see these events, so we'll see about that. So don't quote me on that just yet. If anything changes, I may have to put everything all in one together in one big episode. So just let's see how this turns out. So if things don't go according to plan, then I'll go to plan B. So for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.